Guys, I'm coming to you today with some pretty hard news, but it shouldn't be. First of all, let me reference Jimmy Rex. He is actually an undercover, or was an undercover operative with OUR, and he recently created a video called My Feelings About Tim Ballard. You should watch that. And I think if you're really hurt by some things that are going on right now, that video should shore up some things in you, and I'll try to explain some of that as I go. But he wants to give some insight and some reality of some behind-the-scenes understanding of Tim Ballard and the reality behind OUR. Now, I'm going to tell you, when these accusations about Tim Ballard came out, I had some intuitions in me that went off, and I was like, I can't really address those. I need to stick with the main point. And so I've got a warning for you. I've got a warning for you. Don't get sucked up in the distraction. That's what this entire thing is about. Whether it is true or false, it is a distraction from child sex trafficking or child sexuality abuse in all shapes and forms. You need to understand that. Tim is a side issue. So in thinking about this, some have actually put Tim on too high a pedestal. And when the news, and I'll even share with that some of you here, with the news, maybe your thoughts get crashed down, but you shouldn't, because that's all a distraction. It's been there. It looks like it's been planted the whole time to help destroy maybe your efforts to stay engaged. So I implore you, just do not get caught up in the distraction and forget the main purpose of all this. I want to share with you. Jimmy Rex also said that these operations are real. Now, there's some people have wondered about giving to OUR, is the funding going where it should be and all this kind of stuff. One of the things that Jimmy said is, like, it is really sad that this information with Tim is coming out, because it will probably hurt OUR, and it shouldn't, because word is that they're doing some very good things at this point. That makes sense. It also makes sense why Tim kind of mysteriously separated away from them. And if Jimmy's out there validating that, and then he was on actual real operations, there are some people like, well, it's just a money funnel. Like, it's money donated, and then the money goes to these organizations around the world, etc. But one of the things that Jimmy said is, like, when they actually showed up, let's say in Mexico, for instance, that the federales there said that they can get more done in 2 days with OUR than in 2 years of working through their system of operation. That is significant. That is powerful. And with refining and with some focus, we can have some really good institutions if we're willing to get involved and get our hands a little dirty to maybe help them stay accountable and help them stay on track and find some way to disclose things, in a good fashion, etc. So we know there's some hiccups there, but let's not get distracted. Well, with Tim, there's a lot of people that have, like, he was on, like I said, such a high pedestal that they couldn't see that this man could possibly fall from grace. Why are they doing this? Number one, why do this to Tim? Well, he was about to do, run for a high political office, and this is absolutely the way to sabotage somebody. If you can bring up infidelity or some problems, then it can crash their character. And guys, let's just go over some of Tim's background for a second. And the man's just a human being. He is just human. But some have said that, we know that Tim was actually using a psychic to find these lost children. Now, some of you might be going, wait a minute, psychics are demonic, and how could demons be undercutting sex traffickers who are also demonic? You need to understand that Satan always has a ploy, and it may have been to build Tim up to a really high status so that a lot of people believed in him. And then all of a sudden to deflate that balloon so that people are reeling and caught off guard. You never understand the ploys of the devil. This creature is 6,000 years old plus. He is very smart. He is our greatest adversary. And so you need to be aware of that. But with all of this, he was using a psychic. That's not a good thing. It's just not. Then he was also channeling Nephi, as one spokesperson said he was, channeling Nephi. I didn't know this until recently, but like getting into Mormonism, if you think you can channel people, that's demonic. You're not channeling anybody. You got demons showing up. And I think Tim had some these pictures of Nephi or some dreams with Nephi in his nighttime dreams. And that's not the greatest. That's not the greatest thing. With that, Tim thought he was going to lead a lot of people back to the Mormon church. That's not necessarily. That's not good at all. People need to be going away from the Mormon church. Tim also was noted to have some arrogance issues. At one point, he was at a dinner, and while he was there, it was some kind of fundraising event, and there was a slideshow presented, and then Tim's picture didn't get put in a point of prominence or where it got credit, and he actually got mad and got up and walked out. That's pretty petty. That's something going on within the ego of a person. But all of us are petty. I'm not just calling Tim out. Like I said from the beginning, he's just a man. With that, there was some money allegations and charges that some things are really terrible and going on there. And he came out clear with the investigations 2 years ago, but that doesn't mean he's handling money wisely. And if he was, I doubt any of this would ever even come to light. I doubt anybody would ever complained about any of it or even disagreed with how he was using it. Well, you also find out Jimmy Rex said that Tim had a knack for getting rid of the right people that actually really cared about OUR, and that he actually kept the wrong people, probably people with egos like himself, people that were performance-driven, people that wanted to be impressive, but you get a bunch of impressive people together and then they become really competitive, and I could see it being a really bad environment at OUR at one point. I'm not sure how it is now. Like I said, I just heard from Jimmy that they're actually doing good things at this point. And so when we come to the fact of, Tim having affairs, if you start lining up some of those other things, probably. Now, with that, are you just so deflated and so hurt by this? How high of a standard and a pedestal did you have Tim on? And what kind of relationship did you have with Tim that you finding out that he's had these adulterous affairs? And Jimmy's confirming, he's like, I've talked to the inside people, and this is going to get out one way or another. It's coming out. It's going to come to light. Again, Tim is just a man. Every man has lust of the eye problems. That's why it's mentioned in the pages of Scripture. And with that, Jesus said, if a man has done it in his heart, if he has lusted in his heart, he might as well have lusted. He didn't say go lust, but he's like, you have lusted. It is a sin. And so all of the people that support Tim that are lusting on the inside, we don't need to just like throw Tim under the bus. We actually need to be supportive of him and to help him confess. Like, he really does need to confess these things, because right now he's even proving some pretty bad territory, like trying to keep his wife under the illusion that, I didn't do some of these things. And these things are going to pop out and hurt him. But why? All of that, again, is a distraction to help destroy the focus on child sex trafficking. Forgive Tim. Forgive him. Move on. Remember the cause. fight against child sexual trafficking in every shape, form, and way that you can, and be aware that this stuff can be going on right under our noses. There's a lot of attention currently going on that this might be happening through child protective services. I'm beginning to wonder that myself, because 6 or 7 months, I think maybe a year ago, there was a child that was associated with a family in our church, and when the child protective services agent showed up to interact with this kid that was misplaced, and the kid had been placed there temporarily, but that kid was horrified to go with the man. Now you could think there's a lot of reasons to be horrified, and yes, there are kids with certain personality types that don't like certain people, etc. But there's also evil, wicked men out there that have overstepped their boundaries, and when they're around these children freak out, and people aren't paying attention. I beg you to pay attention, do everything you can to bring awareness of this, and pray for Tim's recovery. Pray for Tim's recovery. Pray for his wife, because this will be hard when all these things surface. And again, don't forget the cause.